Hey, what's up YouTube? Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your clutch master cylinder on a 1980 Toyota Land Cruiser. Now this is the FJ40. This is actually KP's cruiser, a good friend of mine. And we're also going to change the clutch slave cylinder as well, just as a preventative maintenance. He doesn't want to be out on the trail and have that fail on him. The clutch master is leaking. It's leaking inside the car. This is the replacement he got online. It's an ASIN. Looks like it's the same as the one that's on there, minus the Ford blue paint job on this one. But we're going to go ahead and get inside and disconnect the pedal first, and then we'll come over here, take off that hydraulic line and those 3 bolts. That's where it's been leaking right there out of that boot and just dropping right down on his foot. We need to take off the little cotter pin there and shaft, and then see the spring right here. We just need to disconnect that as well. I'm going to do that first. And then just got to pull this cotter pin out here. And then this pin, oh, we got lucky. Sometimes it gets stuck in there, but we just got to pull that out. That's free inside here. We just need to go take it off under the hood. All right, now we just need to remove the clutch master here from the firewall. And the first thing we're going to do is remove the hydraulic line. And we're just going to use a 10 mil flare nut wrench on this, or line wrench. If you've got a regular 10 mil, that's fine. Just make sure that your line spins and you don't kink that. You can see I've just got a little rag down here to catch any fluid that leaks, because it will leak. All right. Now we probably should have siphoned that out, but we didn't. Christian asked me if we should siphon this out before doing this. And I said, oh, it'll probably stay in there. I was wrong. It's all leaking out. So definitely should have listened to him. Definitely should have siphoned that all out. So we're making a little bit of a mess here, but trying to catch as much of that as possible. But if you can, you're going to want to siphon out any of the old fluid with a turkey baster or something similar. All right, now there's 3 bolts that hold this on, and those are all 12 millimeter. Some people have said that this one here on the far side, closer to the booster, is hard to get to, and it is, but we're just going to use a long socket with a flex or a wobble extension and just put that in from the side here, and we should be able to get on that. Yep. Okay, our socket is stuck on there a little bit. We probably came out a little too far. I'm going to leave that for right now until I loosen these other 2. Same thing, just going to come in here with a 12 and get the bottom one. With that hydraulic line out of the way, the top one is actually easy to get to with a socket as well. If you have trouble with any of these, you can use a wrench, like a gear wrench or a flex head wrench. I'm hoping though, once we loosen these 2, that we can get that other socket loose. Oops. There's our deep socket that was stuck on the other one. And there we go. Just pull that up and out. All right, so here's the old one, of course, and the new one. And what you need to do, so you have the correct pedal height or adjustment or free play, just need to make sure that these are the same length before we put this one back in. You can see that the shaft moves. I'm going to press it in and measure that. Okay, so that's about 5 1/8. See, same thing, I've got a little bit of free play here. We're going to match that. So I need to come out just a little bit more on this one. That looks good. 5 1/8 as well. So let's get that tightened down. We're just going to tighten this with a big crescent wrench and a 14 millimeter open end wrench. Now here's a little diagram in the manual that shows the setup here, and it shows how to adjust the play. Obviously, you just loosen that lock nut and do like what we did. We just matched the length on this one, so it should be the same, and everything was fine. He said it was driving perfect other than that leak. Now, you can bench bleed this, or you can put it in the car and just use the pedal to bleed it before hooking up the line. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to change out the slave cylinder here too, so we're probably going to be bleeding on this for a little bit. We're just cleaning up these bolts. They were a little corroded, you can see, so we're just trying to clean those up, clean the threads on those. Okay, so we've got the new one, and it's as easy as just fishing that back down through. And get those lined up. And we'll get these all started first. Just get the bottom one going. Really not too hard to get to any of these. I read online a lot of people had a hard time with that inside bolt near the booster, but I think even if you couldn't get a socket on it, just a flex head ratcheting wrench with a box end, that would work as well. And just double check your owner's manual on the torque spec on this. We're just gonna make it snug. All right, and so you can see here's the new setup right here. And we're just gonna push this pin through. It's got this little spot right here is where the spring hook's on. See if we can just line that up and push it through. There we go. And then we got a new cotter pin to put through there. This one's a little tricky to spin around and bend, but just need to make sure it's not going to come back out. There we go. I'm happy with that. All right, and here's the spring. If you can see, it just hooks on right there. And then I'm just using my hand, stretch it around, and it hooks onto the other side of that pin, and you're good to go. All right, now if we were going to only do the clutch master, you could connect the line, fill it with fluid, and bleed that. But in our case, we're gonna also change the clutch slave cylinder down below. So we're gonna go do that now. It really doesn't make sense to fill this up with fluid, and then we're gonna disconnect the line down below and just bleed out all of the new fluid. But let's head down below on the passenger side so that we can start working on that clutch slave cylinder. All right, so here's our slave cylinder right down here. You can see we've got our hydraulic line and then 2 bolts on the side of it. But over here on this side, we just have this spring. I'm gonna pull that off first on the clutch fork there. There we go. I'll just take that, set it out of the way. All right, so now we got the spring off. We just need to loosen this line, and that's a 17 millimeter, and we're using a flare nut wrench on this and crossing our fingers. There, we got it. Got it loose, that's good. Because we do not have another one of these. And now that I think about it, this is not going to spin around and let us loosen it completely. So I think what I'm gonna need to do is take the slave cylinder off, and then we're gonna unthread the slave cylinder from the line. And we'll probably have to reinstall the same way. All right, and then we're just gonna remove these 2 14 millimeter bolts that hold the cylinder in place. See, this little plate right here comes off with it, but that has to go back on. That's where our spring connects to. All right, we're just gonna try to drop the slave cylinder down. And like I said, since this line doesn't twist, we're just gonna unthread the slave cylinder from the brake line. And this is gonna drip fluid, of course, just the fluid that's left in this line. We're not gonna leak out the entire master because that's not connected. All right, we're just gonna let that drain out. We don't want all of this old fluid going into our new clutch slave cylinder. Okay, so we just grabbed the bolts that we took out to mount this, and Christian had a good idea to just line those up together. That way they're not kind of flopping around. All right, so we got these all set up. I'm actually measuring now from the back just to double check, and then putting a little bit of pressure on this, and it's just shy of 7.5. And same thing here, same. That's exactly where we want it. This is a 17, and the lock nut here is a 14. So we're just gonna torque that down. Just tighten that to make sure it doesn't move on you. And this is ready to go back in. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing with the new slave cylinder now that we have it adjusted, just pulling off this rubber cap. We're just gonna thread this on by hand, same way we took off the old one, just to get it pretty snug. There we go. Obviously, we're gonna give that another turn or two when we get this installed. So I'm gonna put it up like this, and that's gonna be turned. I wonder if I could go, yeah, I'm gonna put it up like this, because I'm gonna be turning that or cranking that a little bit more. and that will unkink that line, I believe. Let me just double check. Let me just see if I'm able, how much I'm able to actually turn that. Oh, not much. No, that's not gonna work. We can't go that, can't put that much of a twist in it. So I'm actually gonna have to put it in just like this. That line for the most part is straight. We just don't wanna have a kink in that. And we are gonna have to crank that a little bit when we tighten it, but once it seats, it doesn't really turn very much. So I think that's the right direction to do that. So we just need to line it up and put the end in the clutch, the little clutch fork. And then let's put our bolts in with the little plate. Again, on the torque spec on this, I don't know what it is, so we're just gonna make it nice and snug, about what we would normally do on a 14mm head bolt. Make it nice and snug, but don't get crazy, don't break it. That feels right. All right, now remember on this, see we're kind of twisted, but there's definitely not a kink. So I feel pretty comfortable as long as we just make that snug. Yeah, see, that's all it's gonna go. Not even barely a quarter turn. So if we would have twisted that the other way, we wouldn't have gotten rid of the kink that we were making. So this is gonna be free flowing and it's gonna work. KP said he might just get a replacement line down the road, and if he does, I'll come over, we can swap that out and help him bleed it out. For right now though, I think this is gonna work just fine. It's not brittle. It's still flexible, so I think we're gonna be okay reusing this. All right, and then we just need to put the spring back on. And I'm gonna try to do that with my superhuman strength on my fingers. That worked just fine. It's really not that hard. You can use pliers if you need to, but since I'm trying to hold the camera and film this, I just tried to do that with just my fingers, and that worked out. All right, just make sure that that end of that slave cylinder is seated properly in that clutch fork. That looks good. All right, so now back up top, we're gonna connect the hydraulic line here to the clutch master. You just wanna be careful. Sometimes these will wanna get cross-threaded, so just take your time. There we go. You just wanna get several threads started on that before you put a wrench on it, because you really can mess things up if you cross-thread that. All right, that looks good. Okay, now we're gonna fill this with fluid. Just gonna pull off the little rubber cap off of the end of that little bleeder nipple. All right, so I'm just gonna loosen this bleeder screw, and I've got a tube on here so we can kind of watch that for a minute.
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, there we go. Old fluid's coming out right now. Perfect. Top off the master, and then we'll just do it like we do brakes. We'll just close that and open it, you know, pump it up a little bit. All right, now I've just closed it. Now go ahead and pump the pedal like 2 or 3 times. All right, hold it down. It's hard to get a good angle from below, so we'll just try it from up here. Oh, there we go. Lots of pressure. Let's do that again. Hold it. Perfect. Okay, close it again. It's closed, go ahead and pump it up again. Looks like a pretty strong clutch pedal right there. Okay, hold it. All right. Now that time we really didn't get any bubbles in the line, so I think we're looking pretty good, but let's go ahead and do it a couple more times just to make sure. Let's top off the reservoir, make sure we don't run out of fluid. Okay, holding it. Let's take a look. Clean, clear fluid. One little bubble, but let's just go ahead and do it one more time. Okay, just gonna crack it a little bit and close it. All right, I think we're good. We've got clean, clear fluid, a nice solid pedal. How's that feel?
Feels great.
All right, perfect. for free play. Again, we just matched the length of this shaft where it sits in here in the clutch fork. I can pull on it just a little bit before there's any engagement. So I think we're good on this as well. Feels like we've got just enough free play where we're not gonna be riding the clutch. All right, so everything's all buttoned up. Don't forget to put the little rubber cap back on that little bleeder nipple. Just keep that clean, keep anything from getting in there. Oh, that feels just like it's supposed to feel. And then you can see we've got some free play right there as well in the pedal. KP says he's happy with it. We should be good to go. All right, well, let's go take it out for a little test drive and make sure everything's working the way it should. Feel like it's releasing at the right place?
Yep.
Okay, good. We just took it for a little test drive here. Just up the hill, working great, shifting fine. I hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll get a link in the description to some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.